Hi guys, and welcome again to the Q&A here with FKK. We are in chapter 6, if I'm not mistaken, and this time we're going to have D2 coaches that will be able to answer our questions. Very happy because I was able to communicate with some quality coaches that will be able to join us today and will be able to answer the questions that we have. So with further ado, I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves and talk a little bit about themselves and their program. Erin, would you like to start?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Jimmy. My name is Erin Barsaw. I'm the assistant women's soccer coach at Lees McRae College. We're located in the mountains of North Carolina in Banner Elk. We're a Division II school competing in Conference Carolinas.
John?
I'm John Husak. I'm the head coach at Texas A&M International University down in Laredo, Texas. We're a Division II program in the Lone Star Conference. Yeah, it's a brand new program and excited to be there.
Yes. So I've been working with both of you guys for a little bit. What I wanted to do is I wanted to kind of ask your opinion about the FKK stuff, the FKK teams, their membership. I know that I shared a couple times some communication between you guys. So I wanted to hear your opinion a little bit about what we're doing and the way we're trying to help our membership to get recruited. John, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, I mean, FKK has been kind of a target for the schools that I've kind of coached at in the past, and even now today, like we were talking about earlier with some kids that we're trying to get over to come for a visit. But yeah, I mean, with the staff you guys have and what Hugh's set up there, and from the top to bottom, from your top teams to your second teams to your third teams to however many teams you guys have at whatever age, there are quality kids kind of throughout, and that's kind of reassuring for us as coaches to be able to kind of have that much to pick from. So that's why we kind of go back to FKK, because it's kind of like that the proverbial money tree almost, right? Like you just want to keep picking from it if it's still producing fruit. So we've always targeted FKK, and what the staff does there is great, from the coaches to the individual sessions with the goalkeepers and things like that. We've always seen it as a quality club to find players from, and you can see where you're sending your players. So it kind of speaks for itself in that sense as well.
Erin, I know that we've been talking a little bit in this past few weeks and obviously a few months. You came to our events. You came to the December event, and that's where we kind of started talking a little bit. Can you give me a little bit of your opinion about our approach and how aggressive we are as far as recruiting for our memberships in general?
Yeah, absolutely. So for us, FKK, regardless, even before December, we would see any Florida Craze Crush team on the recruiting schedule, and we would make sure that they made our schedule, whether a recruit had contacted us from one of the teams or the name is very reputable. Obviously we're all the way from North Carolina, and a lot of Florida clubs are all right, but FKK is definitely one of those top clubs that we want to make sure that we're seeing from every level, as John was saying. From your top ECNL teams all the way through, we can find players that always turn our heads and have great characteristics there. And that obviously goes back to the coaching. The club culture and language that you guys have created have just created more tactically aware players, more technically sound, so that the time that they get to us, it's just easier for us to work with them and have them make a bigger impact on our program.
That's good to hear. So let's talk about some questions that we receive, and obviously I'm going to shoot the questions and pick your brains a little bit. John, can you talk a little bit about the difference between D1, D2, D3, and NAIA and a JUCO? As far as maybe touch a little bit about maybe the rules, maybe finances. What are a little bit of the difference that you can point out?
Yeah, I mean, from a recruiting standpoint, Division I is obviously has the most strict guidelines in terms of when they can contact and when you can come on campus and when they can speak with you officially. I know they have that. They've had a lot of rule changes as of late, where even if you come on as an unofficial visitor, you're walking through campus, they can't even talk to you until you're a junior and things like that. So, you know, they have the opportunity or the ability to offer more scholarship than a Division II program can at the max amount. I'm not saying that's consistent throughout because every program is funded differently. But they have that ability to be at the max of 14 scholarships per program. You know, from a Division II standpoint, you know, we have the advantage of being able to bring players in to actually try them out and train them, whereas at Division I, they actually don't have that ability to do that. You know, we're funded a bit less with the maximum amount of scholarship money being 9.9 scholarships per program, and again, that funding is not consistent throughout the programs in the country. So that's kind of the major difference there. You know, we still have the same kind of contact rules. Your summer of your junior year, we're allowed to speak with you and you're allowed to come on campus. But if you do come on campus unofficially, we can talk to you for now. If that rule changes, we don't know. But for now, it's still, you know, if you do come on and you're a sophomore and we run into you or you run into us, we can speak with you and things like that. Division III NAIA is a little more relaxed in terms of recruiting. You know, they can contact you pretty much at any point. Division III has the ability to, you know, offer you positions on teams at any point as well. So, you know, they're again, they're merit-based. They don't have the scholarship available, but typically Division III schools are very, very academic schools. And can be very, very good teams as well. So you have, you know, you sacrifice, you know, athletic scholarship for a very good education in some cases. And then even NAI schools, I know they've got scholarship and they've got, you know, maximum amounts and things like that. And they're all funded differently. But, you know, at that point, you know, then you go down to JUCO, which, you know, I don't even like using the word down to JUCO because there's a lot of very good JUCO coaches and teams out there that could probably, you know, walk over a Division II team, potentially a Division I team, you know, so don't rule out a junior college in the recruiting process because, you know, they have the scholarship money. A lot of them are funded very, very well. A lot of them are able to bring in, you know, players and put quality teams together and get you started on the right education path and things like that. So, you know, junior college contact rules, I think it's pretty open. It's very similar to NAIA and D3 where they can speak to you at any point. And, you know, if that's something that you're interested in as well, I mean, junior college is a fantastic route for anybody. I mean, just, again, even in the state of Florida with the 5 teams you've got there with Polk, Daytona, Eastern, ASA, and Broward. So it's just, you know, you've got some of the best junior colleges in the country just in one state, and there's only 5 of them. So, you know, that's a good option as well. So.
Okay, Aaron, why don't you talk to us a little bit about scholarships? Like, what are the difference in between the programs as far as scholarships?
Yeah, so John kind of touched a bit about it with Division I fully funded is going to be 14 full scholarships. And for Division II fully funded is 9.9. So with that, any school that's Division II or any school that's Division I can fall anywhere in that spectrum of 1 through 14. And same thing for Division II, 1 all the way up to 9.9. So it really just comes down to the institutional funding. And sometimes like conference allotments as well. Sometimes there's a certain cap on them per conference, and then overall the institution then divvies out how much scholarship each team has for each program. And then on Division III, it is all academic based merit. So with Division I and Division II, you can stack your academic with your athletic aid. And Division III, you only have the academic aid then with no athletic. And same thing for NAIA, it goes back to Division I, Division II rules with having academic and athletic scholarship money. as well as JUCO. You can have academic and athletic as well.
Yeah, that answered a lot of questions for some of the girls that were asking about that. Erin, can you explain to us a little bit about if the recruiting process is different, meaning D1, D2, D3 versus NAIA or a JUCO? Does the recruiting process, as your point of view as a coach, do you feel that is any different?
Not necessarily. At the end of the day, it's still a lot of the same standard procedures. With that, we do have a couple more rules and restrictions than NAIA or JUCO might have. With that June 15 restriction of not being able to speak to you preceding your junior year. So any 2022 right now, been waiting for that date and been circling it for a while. So that restriction, sometimes those 2022s have already decided to go to an NAIA by the time that we're even legally allowed to directly contact you. So with that recruiting process itself isn't very different, but at the same time, some of the legislation that's in place, there are some advantages amongst the different levels.
Okay. Jen, can you explain to us about, or actually, what is the process that you're going through right now for recruiting with this issue that we're dealing with coronavirus? Are you getting a lot of emails? Do you prefer players to send you film? What is your recruiting process in this crisis?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously it's kind of thrown a wrench in the wheel, so to speak. I mean, especially taking over taking over this program as the new head coach and things like that. But for the most part, yeah, we've seen heavy emails with a lot of film, or people that are just kind of panicked that they were hoping for that last showcase tournament and they weren't able to get to it, and we had players lined up that we were going to see, and maybe they didn't have film, or they weren't able to get film together. So now they're you see the emails where they're just begging for a spot on the team and things like that, because this has just thrown everybody for a really weird loop. But we've managed pretty well. We've been able to watch a lot of film, and the biggest thing now is, since we're not able to go out and either A, have you come and train with us, or B, watch you at a tournament, or go and watch you train, or whatever it is, on top of your highlight film, we want to absolutely see. I mean, I speak for a lot of coaches, but if we want to try to recruit from film, which is not always the best way to recruit, but you got to do what you got to do in these times, right? So we also want to look at full game film. It's very important, because we show up to a live game and we get to see your mistakes, we get to see your attitude and how you carry yourself on the field, and not just 8-second clips of what's going on. So getting a chance to get that full film is going to give us that ability to kind of look at it a little bit more. And with the things restricted so much for us in terms of being able to not do face-to-face recruiting, or go out, or our kids aren't on campus, or campuses are closed, we have a little more free time to do that in the workday, to actually sit and watch a full game. So things that we might not be able to do in the past, where we just try to knock out in a weekend at a tournament. So yeah, I mean, we've got to adapt as coaches, the players have to adapt as players, and keep trying, keep pushing for the programs you want to get into. Don't be discouraged, but explore your options from if you've targeted a Division II school and maybe you can't because they just haven't been able to see you play. Look at junior college, look at NAIA, look at Division III, because they also need players. And if you want to go back into the recruiting cycle, junior college is a good option. Go there for a year or two and just continue in the soccer and get your studies solidified, and then go pop back out in a year or two, depending on how you want to do it. So or I mean, you hear a lot of players nowadays that they just want to take their gap year and play club soccer again one more year. So
Mhm.
it's going to be interesting to see uh, what the landscape's going to look like in the
After
fall
this. Yeah.
or whenever we start back up, right? So you might have graduated seniors playing club that are still recruitable. So it'll be interesting to see what's going to happen there.
Okay, so I'm going to continue some of the questions that we have received. So let me explain this question. The question is actually what does it take for a player to be recruited? So for example, if the player is not at ECNL level, you guys are D2 and kind of a high end of a recruiting process for some of our players. What do you feel it takes for a player to be recruited if that player doesn't play ECNL? Erin, would you want to give us your input on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So definitely reach out to us. The more that you're in our email, and as we're attending a showcase event, if you email us, we are going to do our absolute best to see you play. One, out of respect, and two, you've taken enough time to research us. You've looked into our college, our programs of study, personalize those emails. We get so many emails where there's, little mistakes in there, right? It's the wrong college, it's the wrong name. So that when it's done properly, it just really shows your attention to detail and how much you care. And then once you're out on the field, we're not just looking for you to put in smashing tackles and score a bunch of goals. There's a lot else in your game that we're looking for. For instance, alone in your work rate. How are you recovering to get to the ball? In the attack, how are you getting forward? Are you looking to find different pockets of space and exploiting different gaps, or are you just kind of sitting behind the play and just jogging up along the field? How aggressive are you being? Your overall competitiveness? Are you getting up for 50-50s? Are you kind of shying away from tackles? We're looking at so many different aspects of your game physically, but also mentally. We're looking at your different mental attributes. How are you speaking to your teammates? Are you effectively communicating with them? Your overall confidence, how you're responding to a poor referee call or the other team scoring a goal, or even your own team scoring a goal. There's a lot that we're looking at outside of just you playing soccer. So we're looking at how you carry yourself, the way you're warming up, how you're speaking to mom in the parking lot. We are looking at, the entire spectrum of it to see how you can fit into our program. So first and foremost, reach out to us. Two, if you can introduce yourself to us, we have to be pretty limited in how much we can speak, but so many players just walk by and, kind of walk straight through, but smile, say hello. We can say hello back, and that's about as far as we can go usually on a recruiting weekend, but still just making yourself personable. Having recruiting flyers out and having a parent pass those out is always very helpful. And then sending a follow-up email as well. If you email me that night or right after the showcase, I've made notes during that game. Now you're holding me accountable to make sure that I'm going back and reaching back out to you, in addition to me just sending that email later on that week. So there are a lot of things that you can do to make yourself more marketable to us. And it can be as simple as a smile and a hello. And then overall, your desire to be out on the field and the desire to be the best will definitely turn our head.
I like the details, Aaron. I really like the details. Some of us, pay attention to those details. So I really love that. John, at what age are you starting to be recruited? So at what age do you feel that the player should be actually aggressive in the recruiting process?
Well, I think it varies obviously from division to division. You're going to see a lot of the big time Division I schools. They're gonna start at you when you're 13, you're 14. So if you want to start targeting those schools, start looking at them right away, right as you maybe hit your freshman year, or maybe right before you hop into your high school years. But typically a lot of the smaller Division I schools, Division II schools don't recruit that far ahead. Usually, I'd say the average is probably about a year ahead for the most part. And then, from experience looking at junior college and things like that, you're looking at, that year. So If it's 2020, typically junior colleges are focused on 2020. They're not looking at 21 or 22. My experience talking to a lot of Division III coaches as well, they kind of do that as well. They don't look to lock down too far ahead of time. They look to commit players, for the year that's coming up. But it doesn't hurt to really focus on college soccer if that's where you want to end up. So, I may show up to a 2021 game and walk by a 2022 game and see a 2022 player that's like, oh, okay, that player is carrying themselves properly, or maybe it's just their warm up and they're warming up very well, or they've done something well in the game. If you're serious about trying to get into college soccer, start acting like you're serious right away as soon as you want to be there, because there's always somebody watching. Whether it's a warm-up, whether it's at the end of the game, whether it's in the middle of the game, whether it's at halftime, people are always there. People are always watching. I know from experience, sometimes you don't even know we're there. Sometimes we blend in with the parents. Sometimes we're dressed like the parents. Sometimes, so you just never know. So if you're serious about it, typically enjoy soccer. But if you want to get into college soccer, start carrying yourself like you're going to be a college athlete, and really make sure that you're taking the steps and doing the right things on and off the field.
Now, John, I know you work with men's on the men's side. Can you give us a little bit about that as well? Like, do you feel like in the men's side, the recruiting the process as far as the age goes is the same, or do you feel that it's a little bit later?
Yeah, my brief experience here, just giving. Our programs are pretty tight in that sense here. We have our separation in terms of, the head coaches are separate, but we coordinate a lot on different things, and we take advantage of us being out on the recruiting trail. And hey, there's a kid in Florida I need you to go and see, and I'm more than happy to go and look for Claudio on the men's side. So I think it's fairly similar in the sense of, he's been close with me on my recruiting talks. I've been close with him on his recruiting talks, and it all seems to be pretty similar in the sense of, without speaking too much about the program and things like that, it seems like, men's and women's soccer seem to align in terms of the recruiting process. I'm sure, the Indianas of the world on the men's side are looking 4 years ahead of us. So
Sure.
I think that's just the nature of the beast. But, if I was to speak to it a little bit in my experience with the men's side, I think it's pretty similar from what the women are looking at to what the men are looking at.
Makes sense. Aaron, how about this one? I think this one is pretty good. How do I know what division can I play at?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I like that one when I saw it earlier. I think first and foremost, if you're watching soccer, that will really help. If you're regularly watching Division II, Division I, Division III soccer, we all live stream our games. Not some schools do put like a password protection on it and different things, but for the most part, you can log on, watch a game, see if you fit into that system of play that school is playing. And then to be really self-aware of where you are and if you can see yourself making an impact on that program, or if you'd rather just be a practice player for 2 years and develop into being that impact player. So really just being self-aware, asking your club coaches, asking college coaches. A lot of us coach ODP, a lot of us coach club teams. As John was just saying, sometimes you don't know that we're there. I'll be coaching my club team, but I'm watching the girls on the opposite team as well. And, kind of secretly recruiting them as I'm going. I'm going to circulate a number and speak to your coach after if you show something that I like. So with that, really knowing where you fall, getting proper feedback from not just your own club coach or your parents, but the other coaches as well will help. And then I think too, ID camps are really important in that. Going to an ID camp, seeing other prospective student athletes that they're recruiting, seeing how you align with those players, And usually the current players at least hop in for a demo, or you'll get to see them play at some point to some capacity during the day. And then just seeing how you can fit into that program and your overall impact that you can make in that program is really important. Those are some of my favorite ways to see how you can fit in. And I think feedback's really important as well.
Okay, so these two questions are kind of together, John. I'll pick your brain about this one, but do you only recruit ECNL players, and do you have to be an ECNL player to be recruited?
You know, I'll speak to my my experience at the University of West Florida. We had an FKK player, Kendall Bobbitt. She wasn't an ECNL kid, and she got recruited, and she played a lot for us, and she's done very well for us when I was there at West Florida. So that's kind of the short answer to that question. No, you don't have to only be an ECNL player. ECNL is good. It gives you a gauge of kind of what to expect on the field, but you know, there are very good clubs that have a second team that could probably beat a lot of those ECNL teams. I mean, you see it everywhere. So no, it's not a necessity to be an ECNL player just to get recruited. I mean, you can look at you know, clubs that have had Division I, like Power 5 Division I players that aren't on an ECNL, that weren't on a DA team. They were just on a regular old club team. It gives you a good idea of what to expect, but you know, there are good players everywhere, and maybe just for some reason the ECNL coach didn't think that player fit the particular style, but that player could be a brilliant player for a college team that needs that stylistic character, or those stylistic tendencies of a player. Might fit in good with a college, and they just might not necessarily fit in for that ECNL team. So there's a lot. Another thing is, you know, goalkeepers. On a club team, you typically see maybe one, maybe two. So when you go down, if you're not the ECNL goalkeeper, but you're still a good goalkeeper, you're still going to get recruited. That's just the reality of it. If you're a good player, it doesn't matter if you're on the first team or the third team. Someone's going to find you. Someone's going to dig deep. Someone's going to go out there and grind and find that player and recruit you. So, you know, don't just say, oh, I'm not on the ECNL team. I'm done playing because I'm never going to get recruited. No. If, you know, at FKK, we were talking earlier, I mean, you've got the second team after ECNL. I mean, they would miss out just on, this is a compliment to you, Jimmy, but they'd miss out on some good coaching as well. So it's like, don't give up because you're not on an ECNL team. If I was a 17-year-old girl and I ended up on Jimmy Angeli's team and not the ECNL team, I wouldn't be disappointed at all, just because of, you know, the connections you have and the connections the club has and this and that. Don't set your eyes up for one specific goal. It's, you know, that the ESPN thing, The Last Dance, just came out, and it talks about Michael Jordan. We all know his whole thing where his high school coach cut him, blah blah blah, and he's, you know, turned out to be one of the best. So again, if you're not on the top quote unquote team, that doesn't mean anything. We're going to find you one way or the other.
Aaron, we have a question that came last. I wanted to pick your brain about this. So that we have players that are shying away from JUCO because they feel that they will never get to the goal, meaning D2, D1. What is the recruiting process? And do you actually look into JUCOs and to sophomores that are at a JUCO program to also be recruited in your program?
Yeah, absolutely. So JUCO players are actually really attractive to us just because they've already had the experience of playing collegiate soccer. The biggest jump from high school or even club soccer to college is just the overall speed of play and athleticism. So with that, you have a year or two under your belt of already playing at a faster speed of play and kind of knowing what to expect in a college program. So we go after a lot of junior college kids really hard. We overall look at our scholarship spreadsheet and we put money specifically aside for hopefully a JUCO transfer every year, or at least a transfer. Just because they already have tactically another 2 years of experience in addition. So they physically developed a bit more. They've been in a collegiate strength and conditioning program. And overall, just that speed of play is massive. I think that's the biggest aspects that you see in a lot of freshman players early on in preseason is adjusting to that speed of play. So JUCO college transfers don't have to do that. And I think that that's a really big asset that they have.
Yeah, when we talk about stats and when we talk about actually academically, I mean, that's also a big thing for them, We have a couple kids that were shying away from going the JUCO route because they feel that they will kind of be stagnant and won't be able to move forward. But I know, and you guys know, that the JUCO route is actually one of the best routes, if not the cheapest route. I wanted to make sure that you guys answer that question because it was good. I'm going to give you that last question. I swear that I'll leave you guys alone because I know you guys want to go back to your families. But I wanted to pick your brain about our process, the process that FKK has found. You guys have been our events. You have meet some of our staff. I'm in communication with you guys consistently with our program. And then you have seen our teams. What do you think we're doing right? What do you think we're doing wrong? What do you think we should change in order for us to be more successful than what we are? Let's start with you, John.
Yeah, come closer to Texas. No, I would, again, I mean, from if you look at the whole process, top to bottom, what you guys do, I mean, you guys have your event that you do right in relation to the ECNL event. So it's well thought out in the sense that you've planned to have college coaches already there because they're already going to be there and they're coming from all over the country. I mean, who doesn't want to go to Florida in January? So, you've got that, and then you've got, you've always been reaching out in terms of running camps and ID clinics and things like that. I mean, those are the things that we like to do because to go and be able to see a mass amount of players in one environment and even in the sense of a camp, you get it to be a little more personal with the players as well because you can, banter with them and get to know them a little bit and things like that. So, what you guys do in that sense in how you're always getting your kids on display is very, very good. You guys work hard from, number one, not to go back to ranking the teams, but you go from number one on the ECNL team to, number, I don't know, just make up a number 97 on the fourth team or whatever it is. You're working hard for all those kids to find a place for them to play if they want to play. That's something that says, a lot to how much you guys want your kids to do well. And that means that you guys your club takes pride in that. So, we do appreciate that. If I was to say, where you guys could get better, I mean, that's tough to really dissect that. I mean, yeah, I mean, you guys have what you need in terms of getting your kids on display. I mean, FKK is a household name in soccer. So to say that you're doing something wrong, it would take me quite a while to really try to figure it out. And I'm certain that I probably wouldn't be able to find much. So, I mean, you even bring the best food out for when we're there. So, that's, you keep the coaches fed and you keep the coaches, happy and hydrated and, with good players and good soccer in front of us. There's not much to really complain about. Some coaches will complain that, we didn't get to sign that kid. They went to another school. That would be a complaint. But in reality, that kid got recruited and you guys did your job. So there's not much to say in that sense. So, I appreciate what you guys have done. And, from Hugh and Mark and you and Juan and Tibor and Chris and Jordan, everybody from top to bottom. You guys do a great job from your players to your goalkeepers. So, if we weren't happy, if I wasn't happy with what you guys did, I probably wouldn't be on this call, right? So,
Sure.
yeah, I mean, we appreciate you guys, and we want to try to get more of your players over here in Texas. I know Hugh's got a little tie to Texas, so I think he can start nudging some this way for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure about that. Aaron, I know we have a good relationship as well. I would like to hear your opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought, John answered the question very well. So to kind of echo what he said, I think your communication is fantastic. Every time that we're in Florida, we definitely want to see an FKK team play, or if you guys are at a recruiting event, we make sure to come out and see you. But I think your events are fantastic. The marketing, promotion, overall communication of them are all spot on. And the timeliness of them too, just very convenient. We're already there, and the time slots that you guys give are perfect. Similar to John in areas of improvement, kind of on the slimmer ends there. I would love for more of your kids to reach out prior to the event. Would be awesome, just to get more on our radar. And obviously you can encourage them as much as you can. And at the end of the day, you can only lead the horse to water so much. But, we'd love to see more kids continue to reach out prior to the event, so that we can just make sure that we do get to see them over those several days. But yeah, I think you guys are doing great, and we appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys, for your time. I appreciate all the efforts to be with us in this call. I know that you guys are spending some time with family now that you can, and I appreciate everything you guys have done for us. I know I have worked with both of you, and I cannot think better from both. And I wish you guys well. I know, John, it's your first season, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed and praying for you guys to have a good season. And Aaron, I know you guys are working very hard to turn the program around and continue to be successful. So I thank you guys very much. We'll continue the communication. For you guys that are watching, thanks again for watching us. Continue to be safe and stay healthy. All right, we'll catch up on the next one. Thank you very much.